Yes, Donald Trump is the walking, living personification of the definition of insanity. And in this breaking story, what he continues to push, despite having lost the tariff war with China, he just will not learn. And yet when you look inside of his view of Canada, our neighbors and friends, from Zelensky in Ukraine to the economy in tariffs, what a history, and a very recent history he has of doing exactly what bullies do. Try to pick on the little guy, even though they have been your friend. I'm going to show you the story in just a few seconds that you won't believe what just happened that Trudeau has responded to. But take a quick listen to this mix of Zelensky and tariffs.
First of all, it's important every chance we get to lay out the facts as clearly as possible.
I also spoke with Prime Minister Trudeau. Canada is very tough. We don't need Canada to make our car.
In 2014, Russia chose to invade Ukraine, to occupy Crimea and parts of eastern Ukraine. For that, they were kicked out of the G7. And in 2022, they chose to violate the existing ceasefire and invaded Ukraine with the intention of taking Kyiv in 3 days and the entire country in 3 weeks. That has failed.
Well, I just think he should be more appreciative because this country has stuck with them.
You know, we're not treated well by Canada.
Russia continues to try to fight to claim more land in Ukraine.
President Zelensky supposedly made a statement today in AP, but he said he thinks the war's going to go on for a long time, and he better not be right about that.
And we could see an end to this war tomorrow if Russia decided to stop its illegal invasion of Ukraine.
We don't need them to give us lumber.
On Friday in the Oval Office, President Zelensky pointed out, in so many words, that Vladimir Putin is a liar and a criminal and cannot be trusted to keep his word in any way, shape, or form, because he has demonstrated time and time again that he will break any agreements. I stand with Vladimir Zelensky, and I stand with the people of Ukraine.
We don't need them.
The U.S. president says tariffs are coming tomorrow. Speaking at the White House a short time ago, Donald Trump said there's nothing Canada and Mexico could do to prevent them at this point.
Tariffs, as you know, will start a week earlier than the reciprocal, which is going to be on reciprocal tariffs start on April 2nd. But very importantly, tomorrow tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico.
Trump is imposing 25% right now. And in this breaking story, here is the absolute just now response from Justin Trudeau.
Now I want to speak directly to one specific American, Donald. In the over 8 years you and I have worked together, we've done big things. We signed a historic deal that has created record jobs and growth in both of our countries. We've done big things together on the world stage, as Canada and the US have done together for decades, for generations. And now we should be working together to ensure even greater prosperity for North Americans in a very uncertain and challenging world. Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal, but Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do. We two friends fighting is exactly what our opponents around the world want to see. And now, to my fellow Canadians, I won't sugarcoat it. This is going to be tough, even though we're all going to pull together, because that's what we do. We will use every tool at our disposal so Canadian workers and businesses can weather this storm. From expanding EI benefits and making them more flexible to providing direct supports to businesses, we will be there as needed to help. But Canada, make no mistake, no matter how long this lasts, no matter what the cost, the federal government and other orders of government will be there for you. We will defend Canadian jobs. We will take measures to prevent predatory behavior that threatens Canadian companies because of the impacts of this trade war, leaving them open to takeovers. We will relentlessly fight to protect our economy. We will stand up for Canadians every single second of every single day because this country is worth fighting for.
Here, Elizabeth, what do you make of Prime Minister Trudeau's response here?
Yeah, and Diane, the Prime Minister not holding back and announcing this retaliation, making very clear that Canada is prepared to impose tariffs of the same scale that the U.S. is imposing here. And what we're seeing very quickly is a dramatic escalation in a trading relationship that is so critical between the U.S. and Canada, those two economies so entwined, and frankly, one that has been a friendly trading relationship mostly up until now. I think it's worth remembering that President Trump in his first term renegotiated a trade deal with Canada and Mexico, the USMCA, that basically guaranteed this free trade agreement. Now they've gone from 0% tariffs to 25% overnight, and that's part of what we're seeing this quick escalation go here. And when you just had the board of the stock market up, you can see that the stock market, Diane, is trading lower on this reality that these tariffs are in effect now, about almost 2% down on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Investors had thought that it would not get to this point. A lot of investors had expected that there would be some sort of deal at the last minute between especially the U.S. and Canada. One of the questions analysts, traders have is, what is it going to take to fulfill the requirements to lift these tariffs? What exactly is President Trump looking for? And we have seen a couple of White House officials, cabinet members out today saying that this is about fentanyl. They've continued to make the case that these tariffs on Mexico and Canada are about reducing the flow of fentanyl into the U.S. What exactly the parameters are for reducing that? Is there some sort of benchmark that President Trump has created? That's a big question, especially when you think about the market reaction there. But, pretty significant move here on the part of Canada to say that we will very quickly retaliate too. Yeah, and the reality is that most economists expect there will be a recession in Canada. Does that trickle then into lower economic growth in the U.S., especially when you're talking about how closely these two economies are linked? One of the places that we might see the most immediate impacts when you think about Canada is in gas. Canada, about 60% of the oil that the U.S. imports of crude oil comes from Canada. And what's unique about it is that our refineries in the U.S. are actually designed to process Canadian oil. What that means is there isn't a clear substitute right away. So that's one of the reasons why you could see a pretty quick increase in gas prices.
What you constantly hear from a malignant narcissist, which is what Donald Trump is how much I don't need, but please tell me how much you love me. That is the paradox that is that personality and psyche. And what you hear from Trump regularly is how he doesn't need. We don't need their milk, their lumber, their cars. Actually, one of the reasons why we do import so much of their milk is because it's way better than ours. So just understand, folks, brace yourself, especially if you live in the heartland of America, because higher prices are coming and the economy is going to crash, hands down. Talk to you guys soon. Hang in there, breathe, stay positive, and stay frosty.